Let me tell you about a candle. A $64 candle, no less, from a brand that promised luxury, elegance, and what its founder called freakish attention to detail. This candle arrived at customers' homes without a wick. No wick. None. A candle that cannot be lit. A candle that cannot burn. A candle that cannot perform the singular function that makes a candle a candle. And if you think that's an unfortunate one-off, a simple factory error, I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. Multiple customers, multiple batches, the same problem. Now, I ask you, and I want you to really think about this, is there a more perfect metaphor for Meghan Markle's entire post-royal existence than a candle that sheds no light? Because that's what we're dealing with here. Her lifestyle brand as ever launched with all the fanfare of a Hollywood premiere and collapsed with all the grace of a soul in an earthquake. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened, exactly why it happened, and exactly what it reveals about the woman who created it. Let's start with what she was selling, or rather what she was pretending to sell. As ever wasn't positioned as your average celebrity side hustle. This wasn't some actress slapping her name on a perfume and calling it a day. No, no, no. This was meant to be an elevated lifestyle empire. Premium products for discerning customers. The sort of tasteful, refined goods that belong in elegant kitchens and sophisticated homes. And the prices reflected that ambition. $64 for a candle, $36 for a jar of spread, $19 for a tiny pot of jam that wouldn't look out of place in a hotel minibar. These weren't prices for the average consumer. These were prices that said, "You're not just buying jam, darling. You're buying the Duchess of Sussex experience." She even announced with what I can only assume was a straight face that she possesses a freakish attention to detail. Remember those words. Write them down if you have to, because everything that follows makes that claim absolutely, magnificently, spectacularly laughable. When the products launched, the headlines dutifully reported the items sold out within the hour. Tremendous success, they said. A triumph, they proclaimed. But here's what they didn't tell you. She never once revealed how many units were actually available. Was it 1,000 jars? 100? 50? For all we know, she could have sold out of a dozen items and called it a phenomenon. And here's what's particularly cynical about that strategy. By keeping the quantities deliberately tiny, she manufactured the headlines she wanted. Sold out sounds impressive until you realize it's meaningless without context. It's not a business success. It's a public relations trick designed to create an illusion of demand that may never have existed. But here's the thing about illusions. Eventually, people see through them. And in this case, the audience opened their delivery boxes and discovered they've been had. Let's go through the catalogue of disasters, shall we? The Wickless candle, of course, deserves pride of place, but it had plenty of company. Labels applied so crookedly they looked like a child had done them during a particularly turbulent car journey. One reviewer pointed out that the sticker was crooked on both the front and the back of the same jar. How does that even happen? How do you manage to apply a label incorrectly twice on the same product? Jars that were visibly underfilled. You're charging $36, and you can't even be bothered to fill it to the top. Spread so runny they poured like syrup rather than, spreading like a spread ought to. One person tilted the jar and watched the contents slide out like liquid. That's not preserves. That's an apology in a jar. Unsealed jars arrived at people's homes. No vacuum seal. No satisfying pop when you open them. Just the quiet realization that you've paid premium prices something that may have been compromised the moment it left the factory. That's not a minor inconvenience. That's a food safety question. The tea was another masterpiece of disappointment. It smelled wonderful, apparently, strong, fragrant, promising. And then people brewed it and discovered it tasted like barely flavored water. The fragrance worked harder than the actual product. All presentation, no substance. Sound familiar? And then there were the flowers. Ah, yes. The decorative dried flowers that were meant to be her signature whimsical touch, the romantic flourish that would set her brand apart. They arrived brown, wilted, crushed. Multiple customers said the same thing. This looks like potpourri someone forgot about in a drawer for 3 years. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you've paid top dollar for what you've been told is a luxury product. You've believed the marketing. You've trusted the brand. You've handed over your hard-earned money. And then you open the box and find crooked labels, runny jam, weak tea, and flowers that look like they've been dead since the last royal wedding. That's not a luxury experience. That's an insult. And remember, this is from a woman who claims to have freakish attention to detail. Freakish? The only thing freakish here is the audacity of making that claim while shipping products that look like factory rejects. But we haven't even gotten to the truly insulting parts yet. Let's talk about the Sussex sprinkles. Edible flower garnishes marketed as an elevated finishing touch for your culinary creations. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Very sophisticated. Very Duchess. Except people who own rabbits and hamsters immediately recognize them because they're the same dried flower mix you can buy at any pet store. Are small animal treats. The exact same product marketed to guinea pigs and hamsters and rabbits. One commenter wrote, and I quote, "I've had rabbits for years. They eat the same sprinkles Meghan is selling. You could save money by just buying the rabbit treats. She repackaged rodent food and sold it to human beings as a luxury garnish. I mean, really, is there no limit to the contempt this woman has for the intelligence of her customers? Did she genuinely believe that nobody would notice? That nobody who's ever owned a small pet would look at those flowers and say, 'Hang on a moment, I feed these to my hamster.'" And then there's the wine situation, which is perhaps even more damning. Investigators discovered that her supposedly artisanal premium wine is allegedly sourced from the same bulk suppliers that provide cheap corporate promotional wine. The kind of wine companies buy in massive quantities for office Christmas parties because they're too cheap to spring for anything decent. She apparently buys it wholesale, sticks an as ever label on it, and sells it as if it came from some exclusive vineyard where the grapes are hand-picked by angels. White label products with a royal markup. That's the business model. That's the lifestyle empire. Find the cheapest possible product. Put your name on it. Charge 5 times what it's worth. And hope nobody notices. Well, people noticed. And while we're discussing things that should have given anyone with a conscience pause, let's address the name itself. As ever. Do you know where that phrase comes from? Do you know who made it famous? Princess Diana signed off her personal letters with those exact words. As ever, Diana. It was her signature farewell, her personal touch, the phrase that people who received letters from her treasured because it felt intimate and genuine. It was Diana's way of saying she was constant, she was loyal, she would always be there. And Meghan Markle trademarked it. She took a dead woman's signature sign-off and turned it into a brand name. A brand name for jam and candles and rabbit food dressed up as sprinkles. Is nothing sacred? Is there nothing from Harry's mother that this woman won't monetize? She never met Diana. She has no claim to Diana's legacy or her memory. And yet here she is building a commercial enterprise on the words Diana used to say goodbye to the people she loved. You can argue about whether it's legal. You cannot argue that it's tasteful. You cannot argue that it demonstrates even a shred of respect for the woman whose name and legacy she so often invokes when it suits her purposes. Now, let's make a comparison that I think rather puts things in perspective. King Charles runs an estate called Highgrove. They sell products too: jams, preserves, candles, the works. And here's the difference. A jar of jam from Highgrove costs $11. It's larger than Meghan's $19 offering. It's made with ingredients grown on the estate, and every penny of profit goes to charitable causes. A candle from Highgrove costs $40, not $64. It has multiple wicks, all of them present and accounted for, I might add. The quality is consistent, and again the profits go to charity. So let's be absolutely clear about what we're looking at. The actual royal family sells better products at lower prices and gives the money away to help people. Meghan Markle sells worse products at higher prices and keeps every penny for herself. One of these is public service. The other is a grift with a tiara. And before anyone accuses me of being unfair, this isn't my opinion about the quality. This is what customers who bought both products have reported. Side-by-side comparisons, taste tests. The verdict was unanimous. The cheaper products from Highgrove were superior to the expensive products from Azeva. That's not media bias. That's market feedback. That's ordinary people spending their own money and telling you what they found. Here's where we end up. And I want you to understand the significance of what happened. The returns started coming. Not just a few, a flood. And here's the most extraordinary part. Many of those returned products had never been opened. The jars were sealed. The packaging was intact. People took one look at what arrived and sent it straight back without even giving it a chance. When your product is so underwhelming the customers reject it on sight, you haven't just failed to meet expectations, you failed to create even the illusion of value. Her website rather remarkably states that returns are not accepted. Because of the type of products we sell, we're not able to accept returns. That's the official policy. And yet, the returns kept coming anyway. The customer service inbox filled up. The retailers went quiet. The partnership inquiries dried up, even after her friend Oprah put the marmalade on her favorite things list, which I'm sure was completely organic and not at all a favor. The product still didn't sell out. When Oprah Winfrey personally endorses your product and it still sits on the shelf, you have a problem that no amount of celebrity friendship can fix. This wasn't a smear campaign. This wasn't the British press being unfair. This wasn't racism or sexism or any of the other accusations that get deployed whenever something goes wrong in Meghan Markle's world. This was customers, ordinary people who wanted to give the product a fair chance, deciding with their own money that it simply wasn't worth it. The quality wasn't there. The value wasn't there. The luxury was a fiction written in crooked labels and empty wicks. She wanted to prove she could build something refined and prestigious without the royal family. She wanted to show the world that she could create a premium brand on the strength of her own taste and vision, and that freakish attention to detail she keeps banging on about. Instead, she created a Wickless candle, a perfect symbol of a brand that promised light and delivered nothing but darkness. You know what they should have called it? Not as ever, as if. because that's what every customer who opened those boxes was thinking. As if this is worth $64, as if this is luxury, as if this woman has any idea what craftsmanship and quality actually mean. The customers have spoken. The returns have piled up. The BBC has mocked her on national television. And no amount of Instagram filters or friendly coverage from Oprah is going to change the fundamental truth that was exposed when those boxes were opened. You can call yourself a duchess. You can charge royal prices. You can trademark a dead princess's words. But if the product in the jar doesn't match the promise on the label, people will eventually figure it out. They always do.